here. Come on!
Never have I seen a logline on a DVD cover more perfectly sum up the movie, basically. So we are talking about the movie Man vs., a 2015 sci-fi horror film. Now the logline basically says, now I can't pronounce this guy's name properly, Bear Grice versus the Predator, and that is literally what this film is like. So basically this is directed and co-written by Adam Massey and stars the unpronounceable Chris Diamantopoulos, or something very similar to that anyway. And basically he plays a character called Doug, who is a survivalist for like a TV show. So basically it's kind of like Man vs Wild, and he's this guy who is like a reality TV show. He goes out in these kind of remote places, lives off the kind of the wilderness basically, for a kind of TV show, gives survival tips and such like this. So he's initially joined by his crew, who then drop him off somewhere in the kind of the wilds of Canada somewhere, and there he's meant to stay for 5 days, living off the land basically, filming this show, and basically showing you to the audience how he does it. And at first it all seems to be going swimmingly, but you know, not long after he's there, basically there's a kind of it seems to be a massive meteor strike, and you know, weird things start to happen basically after that, and it appears that good old Doug is not alone. And like I said, it basically is Bear Grice versus the Predator, so as you can probably guess, this is basically an alien. So the first hour of this film basically, fantastic exercise in tension building. As Doug, he doesn't quite know what's going on, there's something out there, he can't quite see what it is. First of all, he might think it's a wolf. Then he thinks, hang on a second, is this his crew messing around, or is it some kind of mountain men? But he doesn't know the real truth of it. So as the film kind of progresses, the tension ramps up, strange things start to happen basically, and around the kind of the hour mark we actually find out the truth, and it's actually some kind of alien. Now the first hour of this movie I have to talk about before I get into the last 20 minutes or so. I thought this was expertly done, fantastic tension building. You really buy into the character as well, and I have to give big credit to this actor, because he's really the only one on screen for 95% of this film, and it kind of lives or dies on his performance. And I thought he does a fantastic job of really selling you this character. You know, part of the time he's actually talking to things like on cameras, GoPro, stuff like that, but you really get the sense that he is this kind of like this TV presenter basically. And then when he's kind of losing it a little bit off camera, you know, you get more of a sense of his personality, his backstory, things like that. So a good job here, and you really care about this character. You feel like you kind of know him by the end of the film. So this wouldn't have worked if they had didn't have a very good actor playing this kind of role of Doug, 'cause it really is his film. And it's I have to say, the way this movie is filmed, it's mostly filmed with traditional cameras, although there are scenes that involve the kind of the cameras that he's using, so it almost goes into like a found footage style here and there, but that's only really a fraction of the time, to be honest with you. Then we get into the kind of last 20 minutes or so. This is when you actually will see the alien, and this is where I felt it lost it a little bit. Now this is a lower budget film, so you have to bear that in mind, but the alien here, I had so wished they had chosen to go for a man in a suit, but instead they have gone for a CGI creation, and I have to say it looks poor. It's a poorly constructed creature, kind of like an insectoid style creature, and I didn't like the way it was animated, the way it looked. So about all of the aesthetics of it, and the kind of just didn't look very good basically. And the problem is, it's really confounded in the fact that the first hour is so good, and it really does build you up this tension and has horror elements in it, and you're kind of really invested into it. And then it kind of pulls you into this kind of, but you don't see anything really in the first hour or so, and that's kind of why you're so into it, because the budget so much doesn't matter. But when you do sort of start to see the alien and stuff, you go, oh man, it's actually a kind of cheap, straight to DVD video. So I so wish that they had kind of gone for a man in a suit. It would have been a lot better. Even, I guess they wanted to kind of get away from the look of the Predator, because obviously that would be too much of a direct comparison. But nonetheless, I felt it was a mistake to have a completely CGI creature. The other issue I have with that ending is the actual conflict between Doug and this creature. I thought was a little underwhelming and over a little bit too quickly. So I didn't like the actual conflict. And if I had to have any other kind of criticisms, there are a few little plot points here and there that I didn't quite like so much. For example, pretty much in the evening, Doug decides he wants to play chess with himself to kind of keep himself occupied. But this creature is kind of sneaking around and playing chess with him. And although I appreciate the symbolism and it gives him a cool kick-ass line to say at the end, I thought that was a bit silly, to be honest with you. How does this creature know how to play chess, for example? Although I will say, it is redeemed somewhat by the ending. The ending here is pretty good, and it kind of sets up a sequel potentially in a very different direction, and I really appreciated that, and I kind of liked it. Now, even though I had some criticisms of the last 20 minutes or so, overall, I really enjoyed this film, and when you get to that last 20 minutes, you are so invested into the character. Although you can kind of admit that there's a problem there, I feel you will still enjoy the whole film, basically, as a whole. So with that in mind, I will give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's definitely worth your time if you're a creature feature fan. It reminds me a little bit of a film I've reviewed earlier called Indigenous, which is also called Prey. Kind of reminds me a little bit of that. I would be interested to see more of this kind of, franchise, I guess, if it goes that way. And I think with a little bit more money, this could have been a real kind of, cult film. But as it stands at the moment, it's a decent film, but I don't think it's going to be one that's necessarily remembered. Anyway, but it's definitely worth checking out if you are a creature feature fan. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.